All right, I've hyped it up all week. It's time to talk about Northwestern's running back, Evan Hull. It's Evan Hull time, baby. Let's go.
You are Locked On Northwestern, your daily podcast on the Northwestern Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. This is Locked On Northwestern, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Carter Bird. Thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen every day. We're available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can find us. We're on YouTube. Just search Locked On Northwestern. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss any of these episodes. Leave a comment, leave a review. We would love to hear your feedback. I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk Evan Hull, and we're going to start small, and we're going to start small. We're going to start with Saturday. So Evan Hull on Saturday. We're going to start with the rushing performance. We're going to ease our way into this because by the end, I think I'm going to have everybody on board with what all this means. But on Saturday against Duke, 17 rushes, 65 yards, and a touchdown. Doesn't blow you out of the water. But he's by far Northwestern's most effective rusher. He was 3.8 yards per rush. The rest of the team, 17 rushes, 11 yards. So that is 0.65 yards per rush. So Evan Hull was roughly getting about 5.87 times farther each time he carried the ball for this Northwestern offense. He attacked between the tackles well. First play of the game, I thought, showed that was the path. But curiously enough, the game plan spent a lot of time attacking the edge against a Duke team that showed a lot of speed, and it might have a speed advantage on the Northwestern offense. Meanwhile, Northwestern seemed to have a size and strength advantage up the middle, so I'm a little surprised they didn't attack the middle more. But then so that part of the stat line doesn't stick out. Not that special. Not that noteworthy, 17 for 65 and a touchdown. I mean, it's an okay solid day. I mean, it's a solid day. Nothing crazy there. Well, the receiving numbers are nuts. 14 receptions. He's a running back, everybody. He's a running back. He's catching all these balls out of the backfield. He's running rails. He's running Texas routes. He's running wheel routes, screen passes, check downs. 14 receptions. Next, the number one receiver caught 7 balls. The next, there's one guy who caught 7. Next guy behind that caught 5. He's doubling up the Northwestern pass catchers in receptions on Saturday. 213 yards. That's insane. I mean, come on now. I mean, what are we going to do with that? That's no running back. I can't recall a running back going for 200 yards receiving in my lifetime. 15.2 yards per reception, had a touchdown on the ground, had a touchdown in the air. So 2 touchdowns, should have third, unlucky fumble, and fighting in those final seconds to get over the goal line on a run play there at the very end. It didn't work out. If he scored there, it's that much more impressive. Heck, he's probably getting the 2-point play there too to help you tie the game to force OT, and who knows how many points he scores in overtime, how many yards he racks up in overtime, especially given these new rules, which story for a different time. The 2-point penalty shootout's the dumbest thing in college football. He was the most effective pass catcher. He's the most effective rusher. He's the most effective player on the offense, and he's been that way for 2 games. He is the best player on Northwestern's offense. He was the star of the game. He was the best player in the game Saturday, and it wasn't really that close. When he's on the field, he is a game changer. He has that explosiveness. He's a walking big play. He rips off big runs when he has to. He rips off huge pass plays. He breaks tackles. He has phenomenal hands. I mean, there's about nobody. I mean, I don't know many people on this Northwestern team that I trust more to catch a pass that's thrown to him right now than Evan Hull. I mean, he's done it through 2 games. And, I mean, at times on Saturday, he was taking over the game. I mean, and he's taken over at times both games the Northwestern has played in. The win against Nebraska week 0 in Dublin, he had a strong game. And we'll talk about that more here in a little bit. But you can't ignore a performance where the running back touches the ball 31 times for 278 yards. And that's crazy. That's video game numbers. 200 yards receiving out of the backfield, that does not happen. He's had an unreal start to the season. And that's coming up here in a second. We're gonna dive more into this season. What he means to this team. A little bit of that. We got a little more coming later. But right now, it can't be ignored when you have a strong performance in week 0 and you follow it up with a video game performance in week 2. You can't ignore it. So we're going to take a look at that first performance, that second performance, how it maps out over the season, and we're going to take a look at that in a second. But first, let me tell you about our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports info this season. Find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, podcasts, and including this week's games. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Bet Online, where the game starts. All right. So we get it. Evan Hull had a ball game on Saturday. He had a heck of a day. Career day. Well, let's just look at the season, because the season has been pretty daggum strong to start. Last season, let's give a little context. Last season, Evan Hull was a 1,009-yard rusher. This year, he's named team captain. He's a leader of this team. He's absolutely the leader of this offense, right there with Ryan Helinski. When you listen to Ryan Helinski talk at post-game press conferences, these two guys are looking at each other in the huddle like, hey, it's on us to lead these guys. And he's shown it with how he's played. I mean, he's the first Northwestern running back to run for 1,000 yards since Justin Jackson, I believe, in 2017. He might be the best running back in the Big Ten. I'm going to start to float that. He might be one of the best running backs in the country. He's the best running back in the Big Ten that you're not talking about. He's the best running back in the country that you're not talking about. We know about Travion Henderson. We know about guys like Tank Bixby, guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, guys like whoever will emerge at Georgia, because it feels like that happens every year. He's up there with those guys. He really is. He's special. And so far this year, against Nebraska, 119 yards on the ground on 22 carries and a touchdown. Against Duke, 65 yards on 17 carries and a touchdown. So that's 184 total rushing yards so far this year on 39 carries with 2 touchdowns. That averages out to 92 yards a game, 19 and a half carries a game, and 1 touchdown. And then this is where it gets really fun. Receiving, very secondary skill for a running back, Nebraska game, 5 receptions, 55 yards. Solid game for a running back. You'll take that any day. And then you have that crazy Duke game, 14 receptions, 213 yards, and a touchdown. 19 receptions for 268 yards and a touchdown on the season in the air. That's crazy. Averaging out to 9.5 receptions, 134 yards, and a half touchdown per game right now in the air. So on the season, that is roughly 58 touches for 452 yards and 3 touchdowns. That averages out to 29 touches a game for 226 and a touchdown and a half. It's video game numbers. Can't get over it. I mean, this is crazy right now. He was a star running back last year at Northwestern on a 3-9 team. So you didn't hear about him. Well, this year's Northwestern team has a chance to be a lot better. They have a chance to be a lot better. And on offense, it starts and it ends with that running back because he has a chance to do something special. And he started exactly the way he needs to get that done. And so I just wanted to take a glimpse at it. I mean, let's just lay the groundwork here. He is the leader of this Northwestern team on offense. He's the team captain. He's killing it right now through 2 games. Easily on pace for well over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. And we'll dive into that more here in a second. He's doing something you haven't seen at Northwestern. And he's doing something potentially you haven't seen ever. And that's what we're going to talk about here in a second because he's doing some special stuff. And it's time to talk about the implications of what Evan Hull can do this season. But first, you need to know what your team is up against across the Big Ten with Locked On Big Ten. Every day, host Nate Dickinson and the local experts of Locked On take you across the Big Ten in 30 minutes. Make Locked On Big Ten your second listen. Locked On Big Ten. Okay. These first 2 segments, they're a little shorter. They're just the appetizer here. Because this one, it's time. The Evan Hull Heisman campaign starts right now. It starts right now because he's laid the groundwork for it. He's putting up video game numbers. He's the best player on the team. He's been the best player in both games that Northwestern has played on either side. Team captain, so you know he already has that extra impact in the locker room. Team leader here. And if we're voting for most outstanding player in college football, well, right now, he's on pace for 1,104 yards rushing. I bet you he bumps that pace up. That pace will get better. This is where it gets crazy, though. He's on pace right now as a running back for 1,608 receiving yards. That's 2,712 yards from scrimmage is the pace that he is on right now. Oh, yeah, and he returns kicks, too. He has 18 kick return yards right now. So, I mean, he's going to get extra all-purpose yards that way. But, I mean, put that on the back burner. That's not even necessary to talk about right now. Let's dive into how he stacks up nationally. He is 3rd in the country right now in all-purpose yards. He's the only one in the top 4 that has only played 2 games. He is 88 yards above the next player that has only played 2 games. He leads the country in all-purpose yards per game, 235 yards per game. By that math, you can also make logically put it together that he also leads the country in yards per game from scrimmage. He leads the all-purpose yards per game by 44 yards per game. He's 21st in the country right now in rushing yards, 17th amongst players who have played just 2 games. He's 5th. He's a running back. He's 5th in the country in receiving yards. He's the only running back in the top 18, and he's 5th right now. This is special. He's on pace for 2,820 all-purpose yards. And this is where we get real fun here. Evan Hull, with what he's showing right now, with the ability to run the ball, the ability to have success on the ground, to run for 1,000 yards. Last year, on a worse team, if he stays healthy, God willing, he's going to do it this year, running the football. He's on pace for 1,100 yards right now. I expect that to improve and he's on pace for 1,600 receiving yards. That'll probably come down. Let's be real. But if he can keep it up, he's on pace right now through 2 games for the 4th most scrimmage yards in a season ever. 2,700, I believe, 12 yards is his pace. That slots him 4th, just behind Melvin Gordon in 2014, and just behind Barry Sanders in 1988. Puts him just ahead of Marcus Allen in 1981, Christian McCaffrey in 2015, Larry Johnson in 2002, and Ricky Williams in 1998. And that's just looking at the top 10. The Evan Hull Heisman campaign, it has to start right now because he's doing stupid stuff that running backs should only do in video games right now. And it's special. It's insane. And I cannot emphasize to you enough just how nuts what he's doing on the ground and in the air. None of the guys on this list have more than about 400 yards receiving in a season. Evan Hull has 270 right now. He's played 2 games. He had 213 on Saturday against Duke. He's going to blow those numbers out of the water, and the rushing numbers are only going to get better in my mind. If Evan Hull stays healthy this year, he deserves an invite to New York. He deserves to be in the conversation for the Heisman Trophy. If he maintains this pace and he stays healthy, he's going to put forth stupid video game numbers that we haven't seen out of a running back. Just how much have we not seen this out of a running back? He's currently on pace for the first ever 1,000-yard rushing and 1,000-yard receiving season in the history of the FBS. It's only happened one time in the NCAA. Brian Westbrook did it at Villanova in FCS. So it's happened one time in college football. And right now, Evan Hull's on pace for that. That's how special he is. That's what he's doing. We've never seen it before right now. And he has a chance to keep it up. These next 2 games, he should be able to get his yardage, and Northwestern should be able to control the game in my mind. And he's just got to keep it up over the course of this Big Ten play. He's got to stay healthy. The great news is he's got a deep running back core behind him that you don't have to overtax him. But I'm telling you, if he keeps up this pace, it'll be a crime if Evan Hull is not invited to New York City for the Heisman Trophy ceremony, because he's on a insane record-breaking pace. He's on pace right now to have the 4th best season by a running back ever. And we just need to comprehend that, because the numbers are too special to start out to be ignored. They're not getting enough attention. When people see it, they're like, holy cow, what? He has 200 yards receiving? That doesn't happen for a running back very often. No, it never happens. It never happens. And he's doing it on the ground too. And the combination of those things means that you have to respect him nationally, up there with these other names in the running back position. I mean, you got guys at Syracuse and Illinois, and Anthony Grant at Nebraska is putting up numbers on a team that's struggling. It's probably going to struggle this weekend too. But look, you can't ignore Evan Hull anymore. I know that Northwestern doesn't get the national attention that it deserves, especially from the 2 local newspapers in Chicago. Well, Evan Hull right now, if he keeps it up, he's going to make you pay attention. He's going to make you pay attention because if he keeps this pace up, he will drag this Northwestern offense. Granted, that's not fair. That's not fair. The offensive line is good. The receivers have been pretty solid through 2 games. Ryan Helinski has been good through 2 games. But Evan Hull has the ability to raise the level of everybody at the running back position. You always hear about that in basketball with point guards, quarterbacks behind center, under center. He's doing that at the running back position. He's lifting up the whole offense with him. You always hear the saying, rising tides lift all boats. If Evan Hull keeps this up, Northwestern can have a really, really strong year. And they're going to do it on the back of their workhorse running back, who right now is killing it. And it cannot be ignored how special this start is through 2 games. I won't let it happen. Well, of course, as I'm getting fired up, my screen would freeze a little bit here. But yeah, you can't ignore Evan Hull right now. You can't. He's too good. He's too good, and he has a chance to help this offense be special at Northwestern, something we're not used to seeing at Northwestern on a consistent basis. And if he keeps it up, look, give the man a plane ride to New York City and give him a seat in the front row at the Heisman campaign if he stays healthy and keeps his pace up, because it's that special. The Evan Hull Heisman campaign starts now. That's going to do it for today. That's all I got. Appreciate you for listening to Locked On Northwestern. Thank you for making us your first listen for anything and everything Northwestern. You can follow us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts. Subscribe. Make sure you don't miss any episodes. You can find us on YouTube at Locked On Northwestern. And tomorrow we're going to look at the Southern Illinois game and look around the Big Ten, around the country, the games that stick out. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm fired up. Evan Hull has me fired up right now. It's 2 a.m. as I record this, but look, dude is special, and give him his credit because he deserves it. All right, well, that's going to do it today. I'll see you next time. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at CarterBird13. I'll see you next time.